Hey, listen, I can't talk right now. I'm right in the middle of making a video. It's about my secret sauce for how to crush a phone interview. Yeah, I will tell them that. I will. No, I'm not going to tell them that. I can't give away all my secrets. Okay, I'll tell them that too. Yeah, you got it. I always ask them to smash the like button and to subscribe, but they don't always do it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not good looking enough. Oh, I'll tell them again. All right, talk to you soon. Bye. I'm not that ugly, am I? What's up, my friends? My name is Darren DeLuca, but you can call me the Ramblin' Recruiter. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, I'm an author, a job coach, a career counselor, a husband, a father, and I've been a recruiter for nearly 2 decades now. My passion is you, maximizing your career and finding the job of your dreams. First step to doing that is subscribing. Click the bell to enable notifications, and you are on your way. So, let's get into it, shall we? Smash that like button and grab a notepad. You're going to want to watch this one to the end. Hey, so just a real quick note. As you're probably aware, YouTube changed the rules last year. It now requires 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time to be able to monetize the channel. Now, monetizing this channel would enable me to reinvest in the channel. You know, an actual camera, one that doesn't do double duty as a phone, lighting, new microphones, other things that are going to help me continue to create good content, better content. A gimbal would be nice so I could actually walk and talk, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Please subscribe, smash the like button, leave me a comment, show the YouTube algorithm that you're engaged, and hopefully we can get there soon. Thanks very much. So more often than not, the first step in an interview process is the phone interview. Usually it's with a recruiter, sometimes it's with a hiring manager. If you're getting a request for a phone interview, it usually means that the recruiter has already screened your resume visually. They've looked it over, they've read it over, and you've made the slate of maybe 7 to 10 candidates that are most interesting. Now, the purpose of the phone interview is to further refine that pool from 7 to 10 that they're speaking to on the phone to maybe 3 or 4 that they're gonna invite in for face-to-face interviews. So you've got to show up well and you've got to crush it if you want to continue forward in the process. So when you get a request for a phone interview, the company's trying to confirm or deny their initial suspicions that you may be a fit for this position. There's some things that you can do to increase your hit rate to make sure that you get called back and asked to come in for face-to-face interviews more often. But I want to be really clear with you about something. Not every phone interview you get is going to result in a face-to-face interview. I strongly suggest that you go into the phone interview with that expectation in mind. This may go nowhere. It's going to save you a lot of frustration. Not every first date results in you getting married. Not every phone interview results in you getting invited in for a face-to-face. Think of it as a first date, just a quick get to know you. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration when you're getting ready to do a phone interview. Let's start with the phone interview logistics. First of all, I strongly recommend, whenever and wherever possible, you do not use one of these to do your phone interview. Use a landline whenever and wherever possible. If a landline is not available to you and you must use a cell phone, make sure that A, it is fully charged, and B, you are in an area where you consistently have good signal. Now, other things to take into consideration: background noise. Do not attempt to go outside and do a phone interview out on the street. If you happen to be in the city, there will be far too much background noise for you to do it effectively. Even if you're not in the city, you never know when a fire truck or a police car is going to rumble by with their sirens blaring and completely drown everything out. It's very distracting and stressful for you, and it's annoying, distracting, and stressful for the person on the other end of the phone. So whenever and wherever possible, go into a private, quiet room where you can do the phone call. If you happen to be taking a phone interview from home, be very cognizant of children and pets. If you are in a position where you believe you may be interrupted by a child or a barking dog, I strongly recommend that you preface that when you begin the call by saying something like this: "I apologize if you hear any background noise during the call. I'm working from home with a sick child today." If you are really pressed for a location where you can do this quietly, you can always sit in your car. Generally speaking, you will not be disturbed, and it's relatively quiet if you keep the engine off. One really important point about doing phone interviews from the car: I strongly recommend you do not do them while driving. Number one, because you need to keep your eyes on the road. And number two, because you're going to be distracted by what's happening on the road. You may not necessarily have your full attention and engagement focused on the phone interview. And if you're driving, you're not going to be able to have resources open in front of you and available for you to use. That's one of the beautiful things about a phone interview. It's like taking an open book test in school. You can have all your notes open in front of you. So be very careful. If you must take a phone call while driving, make sure you're using a hands-free device, not the car's built-in Bluetooth. You sound like crap on the car's built-in Bluetooth. So use an earbud or something along those lines. But I strongly advise you are not driving while you're doing a phone interview. All right, let's talk about the call itself. Now, in 2019, a very strange and interesting phenomenon is going on where everybody in the world has a cell phone and nobody answers them. So make certain at the appointed time when the recruiter or hiring manager is going to call you, and this will be scheduled, you'll know about this in advance, make sure you pick up the phone the first time. You don't let it go to voicemail because I don't recognize that number. Oh crap, I have a phone interview today. I should have picked that one up. Make sure you answer the phone. Be prepared. Phone interviews oftentimes start late, and here's why. Recruiters spend maybe 1 or 2 days a week bundling all their phone interviews together. And if any one of them runs long, then it ends up backing up the schedule of all of them. So just be prepared for the fact that it could start 3, 5, 10 minutes late. If you haven't heard from the individual who's supposed to call you by 15 minutes late, then you need to reach out to them and see if something came up and they need to reschedule. But otherwise, be prepared for that call to be a few minutes behind schedule. Also, be extremely gracious when the individual does call you. Thank them for calling you, thank them for being punctual if they were punctual, and thank them for their time in telling you more and more about the company. Importantly, ask for contact information from every individual you speak with. Most of the time when you do phone interviews, you're only going to talk to one person, but make sure you get their full name, correct spelling of their name, their email address, and their title if you don't already have this stuff. People's attention is hard to keep, so I strongly recommend that you shorten your answers up a little bit. Work brevity into everything that you do, okay? Shorter, tighter answers. Try not to drone on and on for too long. You lose the attention of somebody, they start surfing the web or something like that. They're not going to hear a word you say. So stick to the point and get it out fast. Probably one of the most important things to keep in mind about a phone interview is you have a complete absence of body language. Now, if you study communications experts and what people say about human beings when they communicate with each other, you'll know that 90% of communication between two human beings is actually nonverbal communication. Body language, gestures, postures, all of that stuff. On a phone interview, you can't see each other, so none of that exists. You have to bring all of that through in your energy and in your tone of voice. Listen to what I say right now and see if you can figure out which one is different and which one sounds better. Hey, how you doing today? Hey, how you doing today? Hey, how you doing today? If you're interested in learning more about tonality and body language, you've got to check out Jordan Belfort. You know him from the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. He was played by Leonardo DiCaprio. Back in those days, he was doing all kinds of illegal stuff, but he's a totally reformed guy now and makes a very nice living as a sales trainer. He is undoubtedly one of the best salesmen in the world. And he has some great videos out there about using tonality to make up for the lack of body language. And just the slightest little tweaks to the tone of your voice can make an enormous difference in what you say and how it actually comes across to somebody. So check it out. When it comes to phone interviews, if you are confronted by the question, what are your compensation expectations? I recommend you be as obtuse as possible without just clamming up and saying, I don't want to talk about that. So if somebody were to ask me on a phone interview, what are your compensation expectations? I would say something like this. Make sure that they fully understand every dollar of my compensation package and everything that I consider to be of value. Then I would say something like, my expectations are a reasonable increase above that number, taking into consideration my experience and the value I bring to the position. Simple, easy to understand, and very difficult to push back on if you're the recruiter on the other end of that call. So now the phone interview is over, you've completed it, but you're not done yet. There are some things you need to do after the call. Number one, and most importantly, send a brief thank you note via email to whoever it was you spoke to. If you happen to speak to multiple people, send multiple thank you notes. Additionally, as you're wrapping the call up, set an expectation with the individual that you are speaking to. Ask them, when should I expect to hear back from you? And is it okay if I follow up with you if by such and such date I haven't heard back? It's perfectly fine to do that. It's perfectly fine to put them on the spot like that and ask for timing. If they say they don't know, then just set a date by which you will follow up with them. And most importantly, close the deal. Ask for the face-to-face interview. Phone interviews are at best what you would call a necessary evil. Nobody really likes them. Job seekers don't like them, recruiters don't really like them, and frankly, hiring managers don't really like them either. But for the time being, they are still the gold standard when it comes to further refining a candidate pool from the bigger number down to the smaller number of individuals that will be invited on site. Many companies are doing away with phone interviews in favor of pre-recorded video interviews. These systems ask you a series of questions and then record your answers to those questions, in a full video format. So body language does come through. It's much easier to tell if somebody is being dishonest or something like that. Video interviews may be the future of candidate screening and may eventually become the gold standard. Now they're primarily used by bigger companies or companies that have really high volume applicants for certain roles. Who knows what the future might bring, but pre-recorded video interviews is another video for another day. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and smash that like button. Leave me a comment below on the best or worst experience you've ever had with a phone interview. And please, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe and click the bell to enable notifications of new videos as they're posted so you never miss another tip, trick, or tutorial again. Do that and you'll be feeding the children. I've got 2 of them and they are constantly hungry.
Go! Woo! Woo! Give me 5.
Oh my God.